Well, hello, listeners. This is Dr. Jerry Duggar. Welcome to another episode of the Simple 7 Lifestyle Podcast. So happy that you're spending some time with us today. We've got a real treat in store for you. I've been looking forward to this interview for several weeks now, and I think you're really going to enjoy this. We've been doing a deep dive, personally, Tammy and I, on the lifestyle habit of improving our breath. And we talked about this a little bit on episode number 5 of the podcast, but we've recently run into somebody and been trained in a new form for us of breath work. And so I'm delighted to have with me today Sunita Yalamarty, who is our breathwork coach. And so I'm just going to welcome you, Sunita. Thank you for joining me today. I'm looking forward to this conversation.
Thank you. Thank you for inviting me, for having me here.
Absolutely. So Sunita is an entrepreneur at heart. She runs her own software business, building custom software solutions. And you do some work with Northrop Grumman, like a
Yeah.
government contract. Is that right? Yeah.
Not a government contract, but yeah.
Okay. Well, it's all fascinating to me. You're definitely very, very smart and have skill sets that in areas I have no clue about. So very good. She's very passionate about empowering people and helping people live their best life. And so obviously she's going to resonate really well with me. And she's become very well known in the world of breath work in our community. And she teaches a form of breath work that we're going to get into called sky breath and yoga and studying Ayurvedic medicine. Anyway, fascinating. This is going to be a fun conversation. So without further ado, let's dive in and talk a little bit about how we can improve our health with some really, really simple tools that are available to everyone and unfortunately are often overlooked, right? We get we get into thinking that health has got to be super complex all the time. And I'm trying to teach my patients that there really is some power in doing really basic things with intention and with focus. So anyway, I think that's where we'll go today. Anything else you want to add to that bio?
That's good.
Okay, good, good. So I guess I want to start off, Sunita. How did you really kind of get interested in balancing health and improving your mental and physical health?
Yeah, it's a very interesting journey. So,
Mhm.
and I feel like the roots start right from the very beginning, like as you're growing up. So
Now, did you grow up in India?
I did grow up in India. I came here in '94. Gosh,
Okay.
well, I'm more integrated here than in India now. So, had a happy childhood, normal childhood, grew up. But as a child and even as a teenager, as I was growing up, I knew I was very shy, like very, very shy, almost introvert, not comfortable in my own skin. Yeah.
Mhm.
But like you move on, right? Like, at least I moved on
Right.
and life went on. And then suddenly the life took a wrong turn. And that's when it started, like the whole thing came on me where, like we run into problems where, it's a problem, but it's so difficult to find a solution to it. Yeah,
Mhm.
especially when it is relationships,
Mhm.
don't know how to fix it. And sometimes it's unsolvable. And me being very left brain and being an engineer, for me, everything is like you can fix anything, like a bug, fix it, And that's how my approach to life was. It was so, you know, to put it in terms, like it was very like digital, right? Like 0, 1,
Mhm.
But life is not that way at
Mhm.
all. It's not that way at all. And so my mind went into an overdrive, like trying to fix this, not able to. So it was all about analyzing, trying out different things, It went into such an overdrive. And I think after a certain point, the thoughts didn't make any sense. It was just thoughts, but there was no productivity out of it.
what do
And
they call that paralysis of analysis or something like that, right? It's just
exactly. And I absolutely could not shut my mind down. And like it was taking such a huge toll on me. There were times like where I did not want to wake up in the morning because I knew the moment I would open my eyes, it's the same problem, same thought, same crap, same life.
Mhm.
And I still remember one of the days I was thinking like, wow, I think I was in my like early 30s at that time. If the rest of my life I'm going to be living like this, that is a pathetic life.
Yeah, yeah. Just
It's such
yeah.
a pathetic life. I mean, yeah, I had work. I was financially secured, so to say. Yeah, like I had the perfect relation. All that's from outside they all seem perfect, but inside it was just so hollow.
Mm,
And and I mean, I usually like to live my life the way I'm inside, the same way I'm outside. Like, you can't like fake it, right? You
right.
can't fake your life. And that was when I had decided, okay, I'm going to try whatever possible to come out of this. So I was trying yoga, I was trying exercise, eating healthy, self-help. They would help, but I needed something much more powerful to knock me out of my place.
Mhm.
And I have come back home, like be comfortable with myself. And and a friend of mine actually told me, I don't know why he even told me because I had never shared my problems with him. So so he said, "Oh, you should try this breathing program." I was so excited about it. And he's like this calm dude, always calm, like always smiling. So I thought like that was his nature, like he's always
Mm.
calm. And so when he said that, I was like, why should I pay money to learn how to breathe? I'm breathing. You know?
Yeah, exactly. That's the first question. Wait a second. I'm doing just fine.
Yeah. I mean, and he was very persistent. And, there was a workshop. I was in San Diego at that time. There was a workshop and he made me, and he said, like, no, you go. He must have seen something about me. I said, like, this girl needs it. So yeah, that was my whole journey that started for getting introduced to the breathing.
Mhm.
Actually, it was a introductory talk that I initially went to where they talk about breathing, and that it was actually very interesting. So they made us do one other breath which you learned during the workshop, and oh my god, like in 3 minutes, of how I felt energized was incredible. It was incredible for me because I was looking for that energy, or now I
Right.
call it prana, but yeah, I was looking for that energy,
Mhm.
right? And then, they led through a meditation, and it was just so beautiful, so calming, so charged up, and nothing in my life had changed. But I was feeling so much more, you know, like, yeah, I can do it, I can take on life, like, that feeling,
Mhm.
right? And signed up for the workshop, after that, the Sky Breath workshop. you know.
So so I guess, I mean, I'll be honest, like, I'm not a world traveler. I know a little bit about a couple cultures outside of, American culture, but I don't know a lot about Indian culture. But I kind of, for some reason, just assume everybody grows up doing yoga and breath work. It's just obviously a dumb idea, but in my brain, it's like, well, how come she wasn't doing this all her life? But of
Right.
course, you know, but I think it's probably at least in your wheelhouse, like awareness. I've heard the word prana. I know yoga. I know that this stuff exists. So it wasn't really foreign to you. You just kind of needed an exposure to it
Right.
because for whatever reason, it wasn't something that you grew up doing. You might have known of it, but you weren't really practicing or doing it. Is that safe to say?
It's so interesting. When I was growing up, when I was in school, it's I mean, like, I see that even now, but there is more awareness of yoga,
Mhm.
meditation. There's so much more awareness than it was at that point in time, you know.
Okay.
And of course, while growing up, there was no online, classes and all that stuff. So it's very difficult to find one.
Mhm.
And very interestingly, like in schools or even parents, right? This is not like a lifestyle in every household, even in India. Maybe now it has changed quite a bit. Definitely, it has changed quite a bit. But at that time, there was never like, okay, if you get worried, do this. Like, because see, when you're worried, what is the advice you are given? Don't worry, everything will be okay. You know,
If I could just not worry, that would be wonderful. Yeah,
yeah,
but
right. We never taught even in school or anywhere that, okay, here are the techniques to do it. Intuitively, we know, because like if you're worried, if somebody is having a panic attack, they say, take a deep breath. We know, but nobody like makes it a lifestyle, right?
right, right, right. Yeah, I think we if we haven't been exposed to this idea, then we don't know how to use the tool in a conscious, intentional way. So we do what our normal physiology does. We know that when we're under stress, our breathing will change, whether we think about it or not. It just happens, but we don't really you're not aware of it, so we don't know how to counteract that, or we don't know how to then take control of our breath. So, by so many different places I want to
I
go.
know,
This is
I
such
know.
a fascinating thing. So, I want to talk a little bit about this idea that why in the world would I need to learn about breathing? It's the first thing we do as we leave our mother's womb, right? As we take a breath. It's automatic. It just happens. So, why do we need to learn more about it? And I think there's an interesting understanding breath and why it's so powerful for our physiology is because it's just about the only activity that is both autonomic or automatic and under voluntary control. It's like all
Okay.
the other internal operatings of our body, we don't just get to manipulate our heartbeat and our, digestive juices and how well they're secrete. These are all being controlled out of our conscious mind, and so is breath to some extent. But then we have this ability to also consciously manipulate it. So to me, breath is this bridge between the subconscious, autonomic, automatic functions and our conscious awareness, right?
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you nailed it. See, well, actually, it's so interesting, right? Like every emotion impacts our breath.
Yes.
We get angry, it impacts our breath. We have worry, or somebody surprises us, we immediately hold the breath. It's not after a
Yeah.
day we hold the breath. It's immediate, right? It's such a instantaneous reaction. It's that link is so instantaneous. Lucky for us, if we knew about it, like it's a two-way street.
Mhm.
Yeah. So when you manipulate the breath, as you said, then you can automatically change the emotion. And that is the beauty of it. In fact, the founder of IHV says, like, mind is like a kite, right? And to manage a kite, what do you need? You need a
Need a
string.
string.
You need a string. The same way, the mind, to manage our mind, we need that string. And that breath is that beautiful string, to manage it. So I mean, I'm telling you, our bodies are so fascinating. They're just, whoever made it, beautiful. It's just so beautiful, that he gave us the tools to heal ourselves so easily.
Yes.
Mm.
And, just like I think it's innate and instinctive to eat. We would die if we didn't eat. But the more we learn about food, the more we can use food in a way to benefit us. The
Right.
more it's instinctive for us to move our bodies, but the more we understand about how to move and when to move, the more we can pull out of that. So I always just think, it's just like diet and exercise, and we all sleep, but there are things we can do around our sleep that make it more restful. So
Right.
it's about we're not saying, you have to learn this breath work so that you can survive. No, we're saying you have to learn this breath work approach so that you can really thrive and you can maximize your health and your well-being. So anyway,
Actually,
I
just
think
to
it's
add to that,
yes.
people are not very aware, but we almost breathe 10,000 liters of air on a daily basis. That's huge. I mean, we eat maybe 2 pounds, 3 pounds of food. If we
Yeah.
eat 3 pounds of pizza, we feel crappy about it. Now imagine like so much of air, 10,000 liters of air, and as adults, we only use one third of our lung capacity. If we were able to breathe efficiently and in a manner that is very powerful, we can detox almost 90% of emotional detox, physical detox can so easily happen with breath, you know.
That's interesting. So I talk about detoxification all the time. In fact, I think the last episode or 2 episodes ago was all about detoxification. And so much press or so much attention gets placed on the liver,
Mm,
this chemical detoxification. But the truth of the matter is the most abundant toxin in our body is CO2. Like the main toxin we're off gassing with every exhalation, and the lungs are a powerful detoxification organ.
right.
And trying to understand how to balance our oxygen intake with our CO2 release and pulling that oxygen into our blood cell our red blood cells that can get into our cells and do all the magic. It depends on our ability to offload CO2. So breath is really cool stuff. We could really geek out on all the science, but
I
what I
know.
wanted to do what I kinda wanna do is get, off of the science now, like, I wanna talk a little bit about the experience, and, there's a lot of different techniques or modalities or approaches to breath. All of them, I think, impact our physiology, and they're all, potentially great. But you got exposed to this approach or technique, or I don't know what we wanna call it, but sky breath, and that's an abbreviation of the actual name. Tell me how you pronounce the full name of this approach.
So SKY is the acronym for Su Darshan Kriya Yoga.
Okay.
So Sanskrit word Su is clear, Darshan is vision, and Kriya is the action. So it's the action of breathing that gives a clear vision of who we are. Yeah.
Mhm.
Because we put so many labels like like I did, I'm shy, I'm this, I'm that, I'm this. But once you're able to like give yourself that ability to let go of those labels, it's each one of us has so much more in us which we don't even ever get around to explore, not explore, but like blossom into it you know
Right.
and so yeah, it's amazing like how much if we can drop that baggage that we carry on a daily basis, whether it's our to-do list, the stressors, the like, oh my god, like what's going to happen to me, like all this stuff that adds up, but really there's nothing constructive coming out of that thought process, right?
Mhm.
But able to drop it, it's amazing how creative we can get, you know and
Yeah.
nature supports us the moment you're in that place of, yeah, so much research has been done on this thing called now, right? The present moment. Yeah, it's beautiful.
So I think there's certainly something to be learned from, exploring our past traumas and talking with therapists and, there's nothing wrong with that. But what's interesting is any good coach or therapist would say they're trying to help the person find their own answers,
Mm,
right? I mean, that the all we're really trying to do is get to a place where the body mind is accurately perceiving themselves, their internal environment and their external environment, and trying to navigate their life as effectively as possible.
right.
And who knew that just kind of quieting your mind and bringing your emotions into a state of clarity would open up this way to kind of be creative and problem solve and see your own solution. So I think there's a really left brain approach, like, you and I probably would
Right.
naturally attune to, which is like, what happened when I was 5 when my mom said this? And then there's this really super right-brained, esoteric, energetic kind of thing, like, no, just sit in silence and breathe. It's like, how do both of those things work? But they
Right.
do. Anyway,
I mean, I think there is still like there is science behind it, which
yes.
probably don't understand completely. Because like when it comes to sky, right? They have done so much studies on people who are practicing it. So I mean, every event causes some stress, right? I'm not saying like car accident kind of stress, but our daily life causes so much of baggage that we end up carrying. I mean, like, so one of the research is about what it does to the cortisol levels. And so, like, the
Mhm.
stress hormone drops by almost like 57% right from the very first session. So, I mean, the moment you're giving your body that, where the cortisol levels are dropping, the body is more relaxed. I guess that gives, the chance for for the memory to let go of those
Mhm.
traumatic events or the stressful events or the irritations, people pushing buttons, like all that, you know
Yeah.
so
It's impossible even on a cellular level, like way down on at the cellular level, it's impossible to be in growth and repair at the same time you're in defense.
mm,
So if you
that's
put a toxic chemical near a cell, it changes the way the cell functions, and
right,
it's no longer in repair and, homeostasis or balance. It's changed. So that happens to all of our 100 trillion cells. And, we can measure it in cortisol levels. We could measure it in specific, neural activity or something. But our whole organism can't be in fight and flight and, stress mode and also be in repair
exactly
and balance mode. So breath work, I think where the science is really cool is how it quickly shifts the way the nervous system is
mm,
operating and
right,
brings us into this parasympathetic repair, recover, heal, that space is where we come up with, these solutions to our life. So,
right,
yeah, and I one of the things that I really loved about the sky breath work is that there's tons of research on this. So not only cortisol, but I mean depression, anxiety, like outcome measures of it's one thing to say your cortisol went down, it's another thing to say it translated to my anxiety went away and my
right,
depression's gone, right?
right. And in fact, I don't know, maybe I don't know if I mentioned it or not, but even the slow wave sleep, the deepest stage of the sleep, you end up spending, the sky practitioners end up spending almost 200% more time in that stage, which is like,
Yeah.
the best, like the
That's where all
deepest
this
state.
yeah, all the recovery and all the rewiring of the brain and the cleaning up of all the damage that's been done every day. Yeah, very cool. So, now there was also a cool piece of research that showed that even, like, your cellular antioxidant levels change. Like,
Yeah, the
okay,
glutathione. Yeah.
glutathione, which we talk about often, master antioxidant in the body, all driven by complex biochemistry all over the place, but like 300% increase in glutathione levels for people from doing breath work. So it's stuff that you could say, well, maybe there's a placebo effect that my depression got better or my anxiety improved, but you can't really placebo a 300% increase in glutathione levels. You know what I'm saying? So anyway, it's cool that there's so much research on outcomes. Let's talk a little bit about what it actually is. Like, what are we talking about? Do you just breathe in and out or like what so I
Ah,
know how to do it, but let's teach our my
yeah.
listeners here. What does it mean to practice sky breath?
So, the beauty of it, even I was amazed when I first did it. In fact, I still remember, like, when I first did that workshop, I came out, this was in San Diego. I came out of that venue where the workshop was going on. Outside, like there's a street, and you know how San Diego is. Every street is so busy. It's so much of hustle bustle, right? I was on the sidewalk. I had to close my eyes and search for thoughts in my head. It's like, where are my thoughts? I still get goosebumps when I recall that. It was just such a beautiful, isn't it? When they say your mind is like the still pond, it's like that was the effect. That was the effect. And so, talking about like what kind of a breathing it is. So, in fact, going back to yoga, there is a misnomer that yoga is all about body, the postures, the
Mhm.
asanas. But actually, yoga is it's the way of living life. That is what yoga means. The body postures and all that are called asanas. The founder of yoga, like 6,000 years back, the body element, he doesn't stress at all in that. He only talks about mind,
Right,
because that is how you live life. It's important, exercise is important, but the mental aspect is so much more important, you know.
right.
And so he talks a lot about the breathing exercises, which are called the pranayamas. Prana as in the life force, yama is the action. So actually, one of my friend gave a very good example. Like, the pranayamas, think of them as, if you, as a comparison, like you have, whole transportation, right? You have different modes of transportation. You can walk, you can go on a bicycle, you can go on a scooter, a car, a plane. All of them will take you from point A to point B. All of them will do that. But how fast a plane will take you from point A to point B may not be as fast as a bicycle. So there are a lot of breathing styles, and each one has its purpose. But for me, the sky was like this hammer, that like in the very first session, just had the power to calm my mind down completely. I'm talking at an experience level. I'm not talking at a
Mhm.
science level, but that was my experience, like where it was like I felt light, as if I was able to get rid of the emotional baggage that, I seem to be carrying on my shoulders, like my whole world is coming down on me. And that aspect of it was priceless. I say this to people. I don't think I have been this happy even as a child. I mean, a child is usually considered very happy, right?
Right,
So I don't think I've ever been this happy, you know? And the best part is once you go to the workshop, you're taught a way to do it at home, which takes 25 minutes. And that's my first thing I do, like, brush my teeth, come back, do this.
right,
And it just is like how we charge our phone. That's basically what I'm doing.
right.
Mm. And
So, yeah, I'll say that, I've explored and played around with a few different breath practices. I'm certainly not an expert in any one particular thing, but just trying to become exposed. I knew it was powerful and had the potential to really be a big piece of our overall lifestyle. So in our simple 7 lifestyle model, breathe well is like number 2, right? And I guess there's nothing really hierarchical about how we ordered things, but it was definitely something that needed to be part of an overall healthy lifestyle. But I kinda hit and miss and did one thing and then did another thing, and I didn't have enough experience with any one particular thing to know. So, when we heard that you were teaching the workshop in our community, and Tammy and I decided to go, we've been pretty consistent every single day since. I feel like I've got energy, but I'm not stressed, and I'm relaxed, but I'm not tired. Like, it's a mindful kind of awareness, I'm ready for my day. And I think it needs to be part of everybody's morning routine. In fact, our last podcast episode was about morning routine, and I
mm,
included breath work in there. So there's some different types of breathing in the sky breath. Some are rapid, some are really slow. There's breath work that kind of wakes you up, so to speak. They're kind of stimulatory, called the bellows breath. And then there are others that are a little bit more grounding and calmative. So I think the whole practice is all about trying to create a flexible nervous system. That's the way I think about it anyway. Balanced and flexible, able to kind of do whatever you need to do during the day.
Right, right. I feel like this is the first step that everybody should do it, like the breath work, because people try to go directly into meditation, like guided meditation and all that. It doesn't give as much relaxation because, our minds are so active. And then suddenly we sit down to meditate. There's just no way the mind is going to calm down. I mean, you
Mhm.
can have once in a while a good experience, but it's not consistent.
Right.
It's not easy. I like easy, you know, consistent results, right? Instant gratification. Those are like that's I mean, like if it meets all those check boxes, then okay, it's worth it. And that's the big reason why the sky works. And if people want to meditate, this is the first step, you know, manage calm the mind down completely.
If you think about the very first thing that we do on the planet is take a breath in, and the last thing we do
Right.
on the planet is we breathe out. And so it's as fundamental as life itself, and that just tells you how powerful of an impact it can have on your body and your mind. So, if people want to learn more about sky breath, is there a good website for them to go to? What would you suggest that they do to learn this? Because, I mean, I've seen YouTube videos and what have you, but is that gonna get them really the results that you're talking about?
No. No. There is, I mean, like you mean YouTube videos about like different breathing techniques?
Yeah,
Or
yeah,
right. I feel there is value in going through a workshop because first it's done with a live instructor. They guide you. At the end of it, you're given a practice, which you can just do it. It's 25 minutes, it's proven. I feel, we go on YouTube and try out different things. It never converts into an experience. And if it
right.
doesn't convert into an experience, it's not going to stick. That at least
I
that's my experience. You can read all the books, but it has no value because you don't understand what it actually means. So that's the reason I feel like going through a workshop has so much value. And I think it's an investment. This is an investment in your head. I mean, like I did the program once and I'm using that for 20 years. So, there's no better
right.
investment than this, right?
Absolutely. So, yeah, I find that often when people pay something, they put
Ah,
value on it, right? So there's a piece of that, and it's not an exorbitant amount of money. I mean, it's very reasonable, a few
right.
$100s, right? And it is a skill set then now that you own and you can do for the rest of your life. And
Exactly.
I think the other interesting thing that I learned is that the money's going to the foundation for them to do humanitarian work and to change people's lives. It's not
Right.
even going to you. You're a volunteer that teaches the course. So that was very enlightening. So there sky breath instructors all around the world. How would
Yes.
somebody find a local workshop?
So, in fact, it's about 450 million people in about 150 countries have actually done this program.
Okay.
Foundation has been around for almost 40 years, but now it's getting known in US also. In fact, it used to be always in-person workshops. But when COVID hit, it then became online. And that's when, more and more people came to know about it. In fact, the New York Times bestseller book called Breath
Yeah,
by
by
James
James
Nestor,
Nestor.
his whole premise for the book started with his experience with Sky.
Right. And
Isn't that
I've been in a workshop with James and have a signed copy of his book, and it's an amazing book. I recommend everybody getting it. But yeah, he specifically talks about the fact that he's learned all sorts of different techniques and approaches, and the most powerful that he had ever experienced was with sky breath. So yeah, he gives a glowing testimonial of sky breath. So it's in 150 countries. Where would somebody go? Is there a main website to go to
so
find a
So the website is www.iahv.org.
IAHV.
So it's International Association for Human Values.
Okay.
And, so in fact, we have a workshop coming up here in Bountiful or Salt Lake, our area, on from June 6th, 7th, and 8th. So three
Okay.
consecutive days. And it is a pilot. So there is a special pricing for that one, which is
We
only
like that. We like
$100.
that.
Only $100. So it's a screaming deal. And when I did it, I paid 450 and I thought it was priceless. I mean, 100
Mhm.
is like, absolute beautiful pricing.
So what we'll do is we'll put a link to in the show notes here for everybody to click on, and whatever coupon codes or whatever we need to use to get that special price. So if you live in the, greater Salt Lake City area, I would highly encourage you to take advantage of this pilot offer and come experience Sky Breath. And I think I'm loving it. It's part of my routine every day now, and I'm just reaping the benefits now. So, and I get to do that the rest of my life. All right. So, is there anything we didn't talk about that needs to be discussed? Is there anybody who shouldn't do Sky Breath?
Anyone like, with bipolar, we recommend doing meditation. There's an advanced technique called Sahaj Samadhi, which is going into transcendental meditation kind of a style it is, you know.
Mhm.
And so for them, like, yeah, we don't recommend doing the breathing because it'll be too much for their nervous system.
Okay.
And but or if you have undergone a surgery, wait for 6 weeks before you do it. You know. So
That's a pretty short list of people who shouldn't do it. So
yeah.
that means everybody else is listening.
Yeah. In fact, we
You
have
need
kids program, we have teens program, we teach it at U of U. So we'll also be having a kids program coming up. So yeah, from the age
well,
8 to 17. So
yeah, if you can learn how to harness your brain and your nervous system as a teenager, and I mean, that's a gift that will change a whole
absolutely.
life.
Good. One of the things I realized is we take wrong turns in life because we don't listen to our inner voice. You know, we know somewhere that we shouldn't be doing something, but yet we do it. And of course, all hardships make us stronger, but still. And I feel like this was that was one of the such a strong thought. Like I should have learned it when I was 16 because it would help me navigate. It makes your personality, right? Like your character, everything. You know.
Yeah.
So the ability to listen to yourself is so, so, so important. Yeah. Yeah.
Well, I think we've done a pretty good job of talking about the benefits of this, and I hope that everybody who's listening looks into this sort of I hope everybody that's listening just goes and learns more about this and finds a instructor or a workshop near them. And if you're in our area, yeah, we'd love to see you on what were the dates again? June 6th,
Seven,
7th, 8th, and 9th?
no, 6th, 7th, and 8th.
Okay, 6th, 7th, and 8th. Excellent. Okay, so we all have a moral obligation to do our best in the world. We have a drive, I believe, to make a difference and to lighten other people's burdens and to encourage people to step in and live their best life. And that's something that Tammy and I are conscious about every single day. And so when we run into somebody who really shares that and embodies that, we just know we've kind of found a kindred spirit. And so that's what I'll say as my final parting words here is that you're a bright light in the world, Sunita, and you're completely open and giving and loving and just wanting to change people's perspective and give them the tools they need to be well. I usually close the podcast by encouraging all of our listeners to go out and do something good in the world today. And maybe that good is to learn how to breathe well and change your own life, change your own outlook, and then turn around and lift others. So with that, have a blessed day, everyone, and we'll look forward to being back with you again shortly. Thank you.
Well, thank you. It was such a pleasure to meet you. So glad our lines crossed. So
Absolutely. Well, when the student is ready, the teacher appears, and that's what happens. So thank you so much.
thank you. It was a
All
joy.
right, everyone. Have a wonderful rest of your day, and we'll see you again soon.